What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw for TV. And before I get into this video, I always like to remind you guys that if you want to donate to my channel, if you want to show love to my channel, you want to contribute to my channel, you can do so on the links provided in the description box below. Now, in this video, I want to address something. One of my subscribers requested that I do a video talking about this. I thought it'd be a pretty good topic, especially considering the fact that supposedly LeBron James is supposed to move over to the point guard position this year for the Lakers. So I can see this being a talking point for LeBron ass munchers in the media, namely guys like Nick Wright and Damon Jones and that god awful Ryan Hollins. I mean, ESPN need to really get rid of that guy, but sometimes with a guy like Ryan Hollins, you ever heard the expression? I think the expression goes something like, even bad publicity is good publicity. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ryan Hollins is a guy that, people talk about me. He knows that people think he's an awful analyst, you know? So, yeah, this is something you're going to hear about LeBron Ramone James, is that he's a pass-first player. You know, what fucking gets under my skin so bad when people say that shit, man? You know, he's not a pass-first player. LeBron Ramone James, in my opinion, is a stats first guy. He's always been about his numbers, but it's become more apparent the last few seasons. All right, LeBron James, I remember when this guy was drafted back in 2003, when he arrived in the NBA, one of the first things you heard about LeBron Ramone James is that he's a walking triple-double. This is a triple-double waiting to happen. This guy could drop a triple-double at any moment. You know, he can give you 20 points. He can give you 10 rebounds. He can give you 10 assists. What was it? This is a guy that's going to end up his career with as the all-time leading scorer and over 10,000 points and over 10,000 assists. Right? This is all the talking points we've heard about this guy since he came into the league. Right? And then somewhere, somehow, some way, a guy named Russell Westbrook, I'm not saying he's as great as LeBron James because he's not, but Russell Westbrook has been able to do something that LeBron Ramone James has not been able to do since he came to the league, even though we've heard that he would be able to do this, and that's average a triple-double for a season. All right? I even remember when some analysts would say LeBron might have a season one day averaging a triple-double. Now, he's had series in the playoffs where he's averaged a triple-double, but for a season, Russell Westbrook did it. 2016-17. He did something that we thought no other player would be able to do. In fact, he's done it 3 years in a row. Now, this year, I kind of doubt that Russell will be able to do it again, but he did it for 3 straight years. And I have noticed that since Russell did it, there's been an uptick in LeBron Ramone James numbers as far as rebounds and assists because he sees what he's doing and he would like to replicate it, but he can't physically quite do it. You know, the energy it takes to corral, even no matter how much people want to sit there and shit on Russell and say that he's padding his numbers or whatever, these same people won't say, they'll say that Russell's padding his numbers, but they won't say other players are doing the same thing. Whether it's from a scoring or whether it's from a passing, angle, but whatever. But LeBron James has definitely been padding some of his numbers. Okay? We all see it. If you're a LeBron James fan, you probably see it too, which is why you're going to dislike this video. But you're going to make excuses in your mind as to why he's doing it. Oh, he's just playing hard and all this other shit. It's a reason why, when you look at the all-time leaders as far as career assists, there's a reason why LeBron Ramone James is the only non-point guard on that list, I think, as far as top 30. think the closest players to him on that list that aren't point guards are Scottie Pippen, who played 17 seasons, and was a point forward for most of his career, and Kobe Bryant, who played forever, who played 20 years. And I don't think they're in the top 30. LeBron Ramone James is the only non-point guard in the top 30 on a list that is dominated by point guards, guys who were pass first point guards or combo or some of them are combo guards. Some of them played some small forward. Excuse me. Some of them played some shooting guard, primarily point guard. But all these guys were great passing point guards. And the point guard has always been a guy who handles the ball, distributes the ball. So you would expect set up other guys to score. So of course, this list should be dominated by point guards. What the fuck is LeBron James doing on this list? So what does that tell you? That he plays in a system where he has the ball all the fucking time. The LeBron Ramone James system. A system where he has the ball all the fucking time. A system where that requires for him to be surrounded by guys who are shooters because of the fact, especially at the power forward position, a lot of stretch fours, even some stretch fives, to make up and compensate for the fact that LeBron James does not have a consistent outside shot. One of the first stretch fours I remember him playing with was Donyell Marshall. This has always been a weakness for him, his outside shot. So the system that he works in requires for him to be surrounded by guys who are good at cutting, working off the ball, playing off the ball, cutting to the basket, and being uh, stretch fours, some stretch fives, guys that can make some outside shots, guys that have to adjust their games to accommodate LeBron James's game, but yet they get absolutely no credit for it from the media. Guys like Chris Bosh, who's putting up 24 and 10 in Toronto before uh, going to Miami, and a guy like Kevin Love, a guy who's putting up 25 and 12, 26 and 13 with the Minnesota Timberwolves before he went to Cleveland. A guy like Kevin Love who had to actually have he needed psychiatric help dealing with some of the stress of playing under the microscope of the media. Not going to say necessarily LeBron James, but just playing under the microscope of the media. But getting back to my point, though, to sit there and say that he's a pass first guy, how can you say that? How can you say that he's a pass first point guard? To me, pass first point guards are guys like Jason Kidd, John Stockton, Guy Rogers, you know what I'm saying? Slater Martin, going way back. Um, you know, who else I want to say? Steve Nash, even though he could shoot and could score, but he was a pass first point guard. Maurice Cheeks. Okay, these are, to me, Mark Jackson. These are pass first point guards. These are guys who, although they could do other things, and they were primarily looking to set up other guys to score. Okay? LeBron James is not a pass first point guard. He's a stats first player. And fallacies, one of the biggest fallacies perpetuated by the media, in my opinion, is that this guy's not really a scorer. I get so fucking annoyed when people keep saying that stupid shit. Well, he's really not a scorer, he's really not a scorer. Look, no, he doesn't have the offensive repertoire that some of the great scorers have had, like a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Pete Maravich. You know, um, no, he doesn't have some. Oh, George Gervin. No, no, no. He doesn't have the game that some of the great offensive players have had. That's very true. But he does have an offensive game. It's sort of basic. It can be somewhat boring to watch, but he does have an offensive game. You don't sit up there and pass all-time great scorers if you don't have an offensive game. You don't pass a Dirk Nowitzki, okay? You don't pass a Dirk Nowitzki, one of the great scoring power forwards in the history of the league, if you don't have an offensive game. You don't pass Wilt Chamberlain, a guy for the first 7 years of his career was the greatest offensive force we've ever seen. You don't pass a Wilt Chamberlain if you don't have an offensive game. You don't pass Michael Jeffrey Jordan, a guy who won a league record 10 scoring titles. 10. And say that you don't have an offensive game. You don't put yourself on the precipice, uh, barring injury, of passing Kobe Bryant this year. All right. A guy who we know can light it up with the best of them had an 81-point game, 62 points in 3 quarters against the Dallas Mavericks. You don't sit there and put yourself in a long-term situation where you can challenge, at the very least, Karl Malone as far as on the all-time scoring list. Karl Malone, the first half of the 1990s, was the second best scorer as far as a per-game scoring basis in the league, behind only Michael Jeffrey Jordan, and a guy who is the all-time leading scorer, not only for the Utah Jazz, but the all-time leading scorer during the 1990s. You don't put yourself in these situations and say that, oh, well, this guy's not really a scorer. I get so irritated by that. This is a guy who I believe was the 2007-2008 season. This is a guy who won a scoring title. Won a scoring title. Now you think about it. How many great scorers have there been in the league who have not won scoring titles? Great guys who could fill it up with the best of them, but didn't win scoring titles. Karl Malone was one of them. Akeem Olajuwon was one of them. Elgin Baylor never won a scoring title. You know what I'm saying? There have been so many great players who were great scorers. Larry Bird's another one. Never won a scoring title. LeBron Ramone James won a scoring title. But yet, he's not really a scorer. It boggles my mind with some of these LeBron tards, these LeBron apologists, these LeBron defenders. They sit there and make some of the stupidest arguments. Explain to me how he's not really a scorer, but somehow he's been able to score over 32,000 career points. Just sheer stupidity, man. Sheer stupidity. But he is Don't get me wrong, he's a great basketball player. But to sit up there on one end and say that he's the greatest player of all time, right? They'll sit there and say he's the greatest player of all time. And they will use primarily metrics and statistics. And they'll bring up his numbers. And they'll bring up his scoring. And they'll bring up all these things that he do on the court, right? Advanced metrics. Nick Wright's the king of this. But then on the other end, they'll say, well, he's not really a scorer. But they'll bring up, well, he shoots 50% from the floor. Michael Jordan doesn't shoot 50% from the floor. Well, he shoots 34% from 3-point range, or he shoots almost 35% from 3-point range. Michael Jordan didn't shoot 35% from 3-point range. Kobe Bryant didn't shoot 37% from 3-point range. You know, he came in the league averaging 20 points per game. Kobe didn't do that. LeBron came in the NBA a scorer. Kobe couldn't do that. He started behind. He didn't even start. He came in behind Eddie Jones. But then they'll say, well, but look at all these things LeBron James been able to do. He's not really a scorer. That's the shit you got to deal with these dudes, man. I'm done.